Okay, picture this. It's May 1945. Hitler is gone. The war in Europe is, well, it's basically sputtering out.
Yeah, the final days, absolute chaos across the continent.
Exactly. And you'd think everyone's just focused on the end game, right? But get this. Down in an Austrian castle, something truly unbelievable is brewing. A really strange alliance.
Talking about Castle Itter. Now, this place has quite a history. Goes way back medieval times.
Right.
But during World War II, its role changed dramatically. By 1943, the Nazis turned it into a prison. Not just any prison, though, it was a subunit of Dachau.
A satellite of Dachau holding some very, very important people.
Oh, absolutely. VIP prisoners, think former French prime ministers, Edouard Daladier, Paul Reynaud.
Some huge names. Imagine the political weight.
And incredibly, also Marie-Agnes Caillou, who is Charles de Gaulle's sister.
Wow, so you've got this castle literally packed with political heavyweights right as the Third Reich is crumbling.
Precisely. And our mission, in this deep dive, is to really unpack the story of what happened there in those last chaotic days.
It's this almost unbelievable tale of how American GIs and German Wehrmacht soldiers, the regular German army, actually fought together.
Side by side, yeah. Against the SS. At Castle Itter.
Former enemies fighting together? It almost sounds made up.
But it's absolutely true. A really wild moment right at the war's end.
Okay, so let's dig into that. The situation was, well, pretty dire, right? War's ending, everything's falling apart. And the German guards at the castle.
They saw the writing on the wall. They basically took off, abandoned the castle.
Leaving the prisoners completely vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the real danger wasn't the guards leaving, it was who might be coming next. The Waffen-SS.
Ah, the SS. And they had a specific goal here, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Their aim was pretty clear. Silence these high-profile prisoners permanently before the Allies could get to them.
They knew how influential these people, especially the French politicians, would be after the war. Can't have them talking, right?
Right. So with the SS likely on their way, things looked grim. But two of the French prisoners, they decided they had to do something.
A desperate move.
They risked everything. Escaped the castle to try and find help. Anyone.
And who did they run into?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They found a German army major, Josef Gangl.
A Wehrmacht major.
Yeah, but Gangl wasn't, let's say, your typical loyal Nazi officer at this point. He had apparently become pretty disillusioned with the whole regime.
Okay.
And he was actually involved quietly with the Austrian resistance movement.
No kidding. So the escaping prisoners didn't just find a soldier, they found someone already sort of working against the system.
Kind of, yeah. He saw the SS as a different beast altogether, it seems. A fanatical threat.
So Gangl hears about the situation at the castle, the prisoners, the approaching SS. What does he do? He doesn't have a huge force, right?
No, not at all. He had maybe 20 soldiers under his command. He knew instantly that wasn't nearly enough to hold off a determined SS unit.
So what's the plan?
He makes a really calculated decision. He decides the best bet is to find the Americans, to actually surrender to them, but also to, get their help.
Surrender to the enemy to fight another part of his own side? That's bold.
It tells you how fragmented things were and how dangerous he perceived the SS to be. He saw them as the immediate greater evil that needed stopping.
So he finds the Americans. Who does he connect with?
He connects with Captain Jack Lee, commanding elements of the 23rd Tank Battalion. They were operating in that area, part of the bigger American advance.
And Lee hears this story. German major, French VIPs trapped, SS coming to kill them. What's his reaction?
Well, Lee himself didn't have a huge force readily available either. Maybe only 14 men with him right then, and one Sherman tank.
Just 14 men in one tank against potentially, dozens of SS?
Yeah, it was a massive risk. But Lee didn't back down. He heard the plea, understood the stakes, and said, okay, let's do it. He agreed to lead a rescue mission.
Incredible courage. Just sheer guts.
Absolutely. It really shows you the kind of snap decisions being made in that chaotic environment, assessing threats on the fly.
So the mission is on, May 5th. Lee, his handful of GIs, Gangl, and his German soldiers, they head to the castle.
Right. And they get there, set up a defense, and sure enough, the SS arrive.
And what's the first thing the SS see?
Lee's Sherman tank, parked right there, guarding the entrance. A pretty clear message.
This isn't going to be easy.
Exactly. The SS realized they weren't just walking into an undefended prison, so they immediately opened fire.
With what kind of weapons?
Heavy machine guns, definitely. MG-42s, Hitler's buzzsaw, terrifying rate of fire.
So a real firefight kicks off. And the SS numbers, they were underestimated initially.
Yeah, turns out there were quite a few more than maybe Gangl or Lee first thought. Probably around 150 SS soldiers surrounding the castle.
150 against Lee's 14 Americans, Gangel's 20 Germans, and the prisoners.
And the prisoners, yeah. Some of the French prisoners joined the fight, too.
Yeah.
An incredibly mixed group.
And the SS didn't just bring machine guns, did they?
No, they had heavier stuff, too.
Yeah.
Including, crucially, an 88mm gun.
The infamous 88 devastating anti-tank weapon.
And they used it. They targeted the Sherman tank.
Oh.
Yeah, they managed to score a direct hit, knocking the tank out of action.
Did the crew make it out?
Amazingly, yes.
Right.
The tank crew survived the hit and got back into the castle, but they'd lost their biggest defensive weapon.
Wow. So now it's just infantry, basically. This bizarre mix of Americans, Germans.
German soldiers, yeah, some of whom might have even been guards there before.
And the French prisoners themselves, all fighting together inside this medieval castle against a much larger SS force outside.
It's just an extraordinary image, isn't it? Former enemies, political prisoners, all united by this immediate shared threat, the SS.
How did they even defend themselves with the tank gone?
They used everything they had. Small arms, whatever weapons Gangel's men brought, maybe some captured weapons. And the castle itself, of course, thick walls, good defensive positions.
So it becomes a siege. How long did it last?
We went on for hours. A really desperate defense. You can just imagine the tension inside, holding out against constant fire, knowing they were heavily outnumbered.
Running low on ammo, probably. Wondering if help would ever come.
Absolutely. It must have felt pretty hopeless at times. But then, just as things were looking their bleakest,
The reinforcements.
American reinforcements finally broke through. Elements of the 142nd Infantry Regiment arrived and managed to drive off the SS.
The siege was broken. They actually held out.
They did. An incredible victory against the odds.
Yeah.
But it wasn't without cost.
Yeah. Who did they lose?
Tragically, Major Gangel.
Yeah.
Joseph Gangel was killed during the fighting.
The German major who started it all? How?
He was hit by a sniper's bullet.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was trying to move former Prime Minister Reynaud out of the line of fire, shielding him.
Wow. A final act of heroism. Protecting one of the very prisoners he set out to save.
Yeah. His sacrifice really underscores just how genuine this strange alliance was in that moment. He died defending the castle alongside the Americans and the French.
So looking back at this whole event, what's the real significance here? It feels like more than just a weird footnote.
Oh, it absolutely is. This cooperation, Americans and Wehrmacht soldiers fighting the SS, it's extraordinary. It shows the deep divisions within the German forces at the end.
A recognition that the SS were something different, more dangerous, maybe.
Exactly. Seen by some, even within the German army, like Gangel, as this fanatical, almost separate entity that represented the worst of the regime. It really blurs the lines of conflict, doesn't it?
It really does. And you have to think, what if the SS had succeeded? What if they'd overrun the castle?
The impact, especially on post-war France, could have been huge. Losing figures like Reynaud and Daladier right at that moment, they went on to play significant roles in rebuilding France.
So this strange little battle had potentially massive consequences. It's a reminder that history can turn on these small, unexpected events and alliances.
Definitely. And the human element, the courage. Major Gangel is remembered for his sacrifice, right?
Yes, there's a memorial honoring him in Austria, acknowledging his crucial and ultimately fatal role in saving those prisoners.
And the timing is just incredible, too.
Yeah.
All this happens on May 5th.
Just 3 days before Germany's final formal surrender on May 8th. It's literally one of the last gasps of the war in Europe and one of the strangest.
The Battle of Castle Itter really stands out. It's such a unique story. A potent symbol of how allegiances could just completely flip upside down under extreme pressure.
Facing that common existential threat from the SS.
Right. It really makes you think, doesn't it, about what drives people in those moments. What makes former enemies suddenly find common cause?
It does. What does it reveal about, human nature when the chips are down like that? The complexities of war that go beyond simple flags or uniforms.
And it prompts a bigger question, perhaps for you, the listener, to mull over. What other untold stories from World War II might be out there? Stories that challenge our standard narratives, showing these unexpected alliances or moments of shared humanity in the midst of utter conflict.
Yeah, what else don't we know about those final chaotic days? Definitely something worth considering.